Today, we're going to be covering the top 30 vintage non-sports card sales for the month of July 2023. These cards range all the way from the late 1800s all the way through the 1990s. You have historical figures, music cards, and classic non-sports sets. Let's start off with number 30. And our first spot is going to be 1962 Mars Attack number 38, Victims of the Bug. Now, this only got one bid at $438. But my bet is that this would go into someone's set registry and is a nice upgrade. In the 29th spot, we have Colonel Cody from the N28 Allen and Ginter set from 1888. You guys might know his other name, Buffalo Bill, and he actually has quite a lot of cards in the 1800s and early 1900s. His first card is actually from 1886, Old Judge. He also has an Hess card. He has a Goodwin Champs, which I have in my PC, and also an Ogden from 1901, which I also have one of those. This one feels like a bargain, especially for its sticker price. Originally $2,500 or best offer. This Charlie Chaplin from 1916 sold for $490 and it is an 8.5. Why I say it's a bargain is low to mid grade. These cards can range from like $50 to $150 or $200. So that premium for an 8.5 wasn't too much. Now this says it's a rookie card. I do think Charlie Chaplin has a few earlier pieces, but this is one of his more iconic earlier cards throughout his acting career. Some people may argue throwing cabinet cards on this list or not, but this was a really cool example of Theodore Roosevelt. Sold for about $500. Now what makes it special is this was distributed during the Spanish-American War in 1898, and that's where Theodore Roosevelt became famous first. He ended up taking over presidency when McKinley got assassinated in the early 1900s and has quite a lot of cards then, but not much in the late 1800s. We have our second Mars Attack card on the list. This is actually the most famous imagery from the set, the prize captive. This 6 sold for the sticker price of $500, and it actually looks pretty nice, both centering wise and also eye appeal. Up next, we have a 1997 Star Trek. It's like an auto game challenge card. I'm not too familiar with the set or even Star Trek. I've never watched an episode, but this brings up an interesting point. Do you guys want to see more cards in the 1990s, or should we have a cutoff date before then? Every different sport has cutoffs for what's considered vintage or modern. Non-sports is interesting because it really depends on the category. So let me know down below in the description. This Red Menace Tiny Tim sold for the buy it now price of $560. Like the Mars Attack earlier, this is probably going into someone's set registry. And it's really impressive finding a card from the early 1950s in this shape. This 1990 Marvel Universe Spider-Man sold for $650. Definitely not the earliest Spider-Man card, but this set has been very popular along a lot of non-sports and comic collectors within the hobby the last few years. Set that I'm really familiar with, the 1932 US Caramels. I actually think this Abraham Lincoln was a steal at $695. And if I saw this, I probably would have purchased it. The reason why is the blue is one of the rare versions of this. So there's red, there's an orange, and then there's also a blue. Red and orange you can find quite often. The blues tend to be really, really tough. On top of that, Abraham Lincoln is a premium card within the set. He's a lot more expensive than other presidents, which makes sense since he's a lot more popular. So this Horrors of War card was distributed 1 year before the start of World War II. Germany threatens. This is one of the more popular cards within the set. This SGC3 old label sold for the buy it now price of $772. With the recent Titan tragedy, there has been a spike of interest in Titanic cards once again. Now this card was really popular before that disaster happened, but this one recently sold for $820, originally a buy it now price of over $1,100. Now this is also the first imagery of the Titanic on cardboard. It does have a few other cards in the early 1900s and a lot on the pre-war side of things, but this is definitely the best card to go after. With a list price of $1,400, this 1985 Garbage Pails Kid sold for $890, most likely going into a PSA set registry at this price point and grade. Our first music card on the list, we have a 1968 Cantante of Frank Sinatra. And while this listing says it's a rookie card, Frank Sinatra has way earlier cards that I would even consider a rookie card. I have multiple of his cards from the 1940s, and this was distributed in 1968. Now, I will say the 68 Cantantes and even the 72s are very tough to find in higher grades. Talking about 7, 8s, and also 9. They're out there now, but that's because the finest examples have been graded. And this is a huge sale from the set. I would consider this Superman card kind of on the Mount Rushmore of Marvel or superhero cards in general. This is Superman #1 from 1940, distributed by Gum Inc. and just a classic pre-war card of the famous superhero. We have another Superman sale. This one was raw and sold for $943. Looks like it's also out of gum ink. Now, since I'm not a Marvel guy, if you are more familiar with the set, let me know why this one outsold card number 1. Condition wise, this looks like it's either a 1, or if you have a very lenient grader, a 1.5 due to all the creases and also the edge wear. This 1989 Rotten to the Core Trump PSA 10 sold for $1,000. There's also been a few 9 sales recently that are ranging between $300 and also $400. Trump is on the news a lot, and we're getting back into presidential election season, so expect more president stuff to start selling soon. This Bart Simpson card sold for $1,150 USD. It's sold out of Australia. Again, something I'm not too familiar with, although I did watch The Simpsons as a kid. So it says 2 of 50. I assume that there's only 50 of these, distributed also in 1996. We have 2 more Garbage Pail Kids from 1985. Again, most likely registry. So Looney Lenny, this sold for $12.25. And then Stormy Heather sold also for about $1,200. So as a music collector, I'm not the biggest fan of the Swedish Smalsker cards, or Smalsker. I don't know how to actually pronounce these. The reason why is the grading companies just slapped 1978 on them. And really these cards were distributed from 1974 through the 1980s. So that 78 label across the board is wrong. Now, I don't know specifically on this Bruce Springsteen. I haven't done my full research on it, but $1,200 for a 9 is a phenomenal sale, and something that I did not expect for this card. We have another playing card here on the list, the 3 of Diamonds of Bruce Lee from 1966. This one sold for $1,276. With how much money is flowing into modern Disney cards, I could see this card doing well long term, but this is 1931 Wills. It features both Walt Disney and also Mickey Mouse. It is not a rare card by any means, and a lot of them do sell every single month, but a 7 is a pretty good grade, and this card sold for $1,550. Out of the 1966 Batman set, we have Robin, which I would assume is one of the better cards in the set. This one sold for $1,600 and 8.5, which is a really nice grade. So recently there was a really nice high set grade of the Three Stooges. Now, a few of other cards would have made this list, but because I'm featuring 4 at the very top, I didn't put them in here. The first of the 4 is number 2, Mo. This PSA 9 sold for $1,800. Another 1985 Garbage Pail Kids Nervous Rex. This one sold for $1,995. So I know some checklists and sports cards do go for a premium, but I was actually shocked with how much this one did within the Three Stooges set. In fact, outselling Mo. This one sold for $2,600. This could possibly be the highest grade of this card, and a few people on the registry were trying to grab that for their set, and that's the reason why it went so expensive. That's just me speculating though, but another really high sale. Card number 3 in the set, Larry, sold for $3,000. So we saw earlier that the Robin in a PSA 8.5, it sold for $1,600. Well, the Batman more than doubled it and sold at auction for $3,455. Our last Garbage Pail Kids on the list, we have Nasty Nick, card number 1A, sold for $3,750. And lastly, number 1 from the Three Stooges, Curly. This one sold for $6,505. All right, let's go through some bonus cards right now. Up first, we have this 1935 Mickey Mouse set, another card that features both Walt and also Mickey. The reason why I'm pointing this one out is it was actually an O-Pee-Chee version, which I didn't even know existed until I started pulling the data. This one sold for $400. We have a 1907 Tesla rookie card. This 3.5 sold for $325. I feel like if it was a smaller card and also possibly vertical, it'd be way more expensive, but there's a lot of collectors that don't like oversized cards. We have a Lone Jack N370 of Robert, I think it's Ingersoll. Now the reason why I want to show this one is this set featured both non-sports and also baseball players. I actually have the Bartholdi in the set, which he was the guy that created the Statue of Liberty. While this isn't my exact copy, I just recently picked up this card as well, 1972 Daily Express Led Zeppelin. This is one of their first cards, and it's way tougher to find than Panini Cantanti. Now this one sold for $300, as well as the one I purchased. I think I ended up paying $275 to be exact. Another honorable mention here is Billy the Kid. He is a household name, but doesn't have a ton of cards. This is a 1933 Indian Gum, which was distributed by Gowdy. You might know them for their baseball set and also Sports Kings. Well, this 7 with a qualifier sold for $282. G-Men cards are very interesting. There's a ton of different short prints in here and also variations. This one sold for $300 and it looks like it would be about 2 to 2.5 shape. If you're more familiar with the set, let me know. I do know a little bit about the set. In particular, these numbers over here, I can't remember whether it's like the left hand side or the right hand side. There's a premium associated with them and also the scarcity. Also, there's a French version of it, which I have the John Dillinger in A4, which I didn't even know that existed until I talked to a collector over in Europe. We featured a 1990s Spider-Man earlier. Well, this one is from 1966, which might be the first card. Way tougher to find, and in my personal opinion, I'd rather have this card than the one from the Junk Wax era in a 10. This is the end of the video, but I do want to say I missed a few cards in this week's top 30. I accidentally forgot to filter my spreadsheet, so I just want to go through these really quick. We have a 1977 Darth Vader. Is from Wonder Bread. Now, from what I've heard, you can find a lot of Wonder Breads in higher grades. Specifically, I think some of them might have been sheet cut. Could be wrong, but that's what I've heard before somewhere from a Star Wars collector. But this Darth Vader had a very strong sale at $5,100. Card number 1 in this 1977 Star Wars set was Luke Skywalker. This one is signed and doesn't have a card grade, but like looking at this, it does look in decent shape. And this is also something to bring up in future videos. Do you want me to also include autograph cards like this that were post the release of the card? I'm like 50-50, so let me know down below in the comment section. Another high grade Wonder Bread. Luke sold for almost $3,000. Card number 1 once again. This 1977 O-Pee-Chee R2-D2 sold for $2,800. From what I've heard, these Star Wars cards were distributed all across the world. In fact, I believe that they're also distributed in Australia as Scanlans, but I could be wrong. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, and also at the same time, I just don't know a ton about these releases. This Obi-Wan Kenobi sold for $800 in a 10. Carrie Fisher sold for a significantly amount less than the Luke Skywalker, $2,300, but you can no longer find this autograph. And again, the card looks pretty solid overall. C-3PO sold for $800. Only 2 bids on this R2-D2, but sold for $1,700, which again makes me think this is going into someone's registry. And lastly, we have a Sylvester Stallone Rocky 2 autograph. There's no Rocky cards for the first movie. Sylvester Stallone does have a few earlier cards, but I think getting an auto on this Rocky 2 card is a no-brainer if you have the opportunity to do so, and it was actually pretty sick. And this one sold for $1,750. So that was the first episode of Vintage Non-Sports Cards, top sales on eBay. If you did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe because these take quite a while to get between grabbing all the data and making these lists. Now, what I will say is I probably did miss some cards, and I'm going to work on getting this better every single month. If I did miss a card, either email me or also put it down below in the description, so that way I can add those into next month's video. I'll also have more videos like this for vintage, pre-war baseball, post-war baseball, and then also alternative sports. So stay tuned for those.